Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, I apologize for the delay here. We had to reschedule our webinar because it's been a busy week here in the TAPS office, uh, and we had some network difficulties right before we were about to get started, so I apologize for that. Once again, my name is John Skees. I am the Director of Media for TAPS. We're going to get started in just a minute, but first I've got two housekeeping items to cover with you first. This webinar is being recorded. You're going to receive an email with a link to that recording later this afternoon. It's also going to be hosted on our YouTube page. That's youtube.com/tapsbiz. Um, that recording will you can make that available to anybody at on your campus who needs that information. The second thing that I need to tell you, if you have questions as we go through today's presentation, please use the questions interface in the GoToWebinar panel. You'll see that little drop down that says questions. You can type those in there and we'll see them. We're going to try to answer questions as we go. If we don't get to yours right away, don't worry, we'll play catch up at the end of the presentation. But if we don't get to your question today, if we run out of time, or if your question is just too specific to answer appropriately in this venue, send us an email, info@taps.biz, once the webinar is over, and we'll get an answer to your question. With that, I think we're about ready to get started. I am joined today by Brian Bunselmeyer, TAPS Executive Director, and Vina Williams, the TAPS Director of Fine Arts. Will Dixon from the TAPS office staff is also helping us out behind the keyboard today. And now I'm going to hand it over to Brian so we can get started.
Thank you for waiting. Technical difficulties. I'll take the blame on that when it seems that I can have two thumbs anywhere we go. So I apologize for the delay. We are talking TAPS Drumline, TAPS Field, and TAPS Marching Band today. We appreciate you joining us, and we really appreciate you participating in these events. It's grown over the years. Thank you to Vina for all her help in moving us forward. One thing I do want to talk about, just so I don't forget it later on, we will have COVID protocols in place. So what we will do is, as you arrive, just like last year, you will sign off that you and all those attending representing your school, whether it be a director or a performer, are COVID symptom free the day of the contest, and then that was what we will do to move forward. The parents, by redeeming their free ticket, will do the same thing. By redemption of that ticket, they are stating that they are COVID free. Our judges will also say that they are COVID symptom free. I apologize, clinicians and judges. And then we will move forward. I believe both venues have enough seating so that social distancing is possible. We're not going to put up cones or dots or whatever, but as the directors feel comfortable, please feel free to move around the stadiums to make sure that all of those things are taken care of. COVID's still here. We get it. If something happens and COVID comes to your house before you can get to the championships, please notify us as soon as possible. As far as I'm concerned, that's about all the bad stuff. I'm glad we took that off the plate first. I appreciate you staying with me. It is going to be held, our contest, at Waco ISD Complex. It is going to be Monday. And unlike last year when it was 60 degrees and raining all day, I'm looking at the forecast from Earth Networks right now that says it's going to be a low of 70 in the morning and a high of 88. So both fields are turf. Hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. Make sure your kids bring something to drink. We'll try to have that as well and available while you're there. Vina, I've said a lot. I'm going to let you take it over for now and lead us on through Drumline and Fall Band. Thank you again to everybody for joining us today and for making this event such a special event for our students.
Welcome, guys. Thanks for joining us. You received an email last week, and we have posted on our website most of the details that we're covering now, but just so that you have that all written out, it's on taps.biz on our Drumline and Fall Band pages on championship information. So there are documents for all the things that we are covering here, the maps and bios and things like that. So first of all, this week, we're going to talk about what do we do when we get there. So on our facility map, we want you to enter from Bagby if possible. So the corner of the stadium is on Bagby and New Road, and we want you to try to use those Bagby entrances. Those are entrance number 3 and number 4. We have assigned parking spaces for your schools. So each school will go to the parking lot that's designated on this map. Like, again, that's posted on our website, but here it is here. It'll tell you if you're supposed to be entering on entrance number 3, entrance number 4, and that parking lot there at the bottom is entrance 1 or 4. When you come in, if you try to go through the wrong entrance, they're going to wave you on and say, this is not the right entrance, keep going. just make sure that you are in the parking lot. That way we can keep the buses and vans and vehicles just evenly distributed based on your group sizes. You will be expected to warm up by your bus, and so there'll be parking attendants that kind of help you not to park too close to another school. So double check that list to know exactly where you should be pulling in, and notice on the map that where your assignment is. The restrooms, there are restrooms at the football field and outside the softball field, located kind of in between. Those will be open on both sides of the home side of the football stadium. So when you get there, we want you to pull into the correct space on the map and park, and proceed to the registration area. So on that registration area, it's a small parking lot where you'll see our TAPS trailers and things where we've kind of unloaded our things, but there's a small parking lot just to the side of the football stadium, in between the alley between the softball, baseball fields and the stadium. And so when you show up at registration, can you go to the next couple of slides? When you show up at registration, you're going to be expected to turn in your fees for the day. You'll end up getting your packet that kind of says, hey, what are we doing here? You're going to affirm that your students are COVID-free and yourself. You'll review the ballot sheet and the announcement sheet that says this is what you're performing. We want to acknowledge your drum majors or your captains, and so you will be asked if there are any changes to your lineup or anything like that. And then if there's anyone that has hard to pronounce names or just composers or even titles, just make sure you help the person asking with some phonetics if necessary. And like I said, you'll also be asked to turn in your fees at that registration check-in. So after you register, your bands can be unloading at your vehicles, and you can rehearse and warm up in the parking lot next to your vehicles. And we ask that you try to stay, keep your students within your own little pod section so that we're not, we're being careful with the other schools just to make sure that everybody feels comfortable, you know, just with spreading germs and whatnot. So just warm up by your vehicle. The spectators will need to go straight to the stands, and as we'd like the parking lots to kind of stay free of the fans. So if you could just send your parents and your fans onto the stands, they will get checked in at the ticket area when they come in. And so, like we mentioned, there is no charge for our tickets for this event, but they will have to affirm COVID-free. Those ticket links were not active earlier in the week, but on that Drumline and Marching Band Fall Band page, the ticket link is live now, and so you can just have your parents go to that link and they can purchase the zero-cost ticket for the event. We will have concessions available. The concessions are, you know, concession food, football food. We've got nachos and things like that. Bush's Chicken is providing the box lunch pre-order so that you're not waiting in a long line. That is also posted on the website. Please make sure you turn those box lunches in by 6 p.m. on Sunday. It's just an order of how many box lunches you need, and they will deliver those to the concession stand. And so you'll pick those up at the time designated on the order form. The restrooms, like I said, will be open during those events. So after you get there and you've registered and you've warmed up, you'll proceed to go through the sections of performance, warm-up performance, and clinic. So let's just kind of go through that. On the next slide, we have, for Drumline specifically, we're on a turf softball field. So the last time we were here in Waco, we were on the baseball field, and it was turf on the infield, but quite damp in the outfield, and so it kind of was muddy. So we're going to be using the turf softball field this year. The small parking lot off of New Road will be the first place that you need to stop in. We're going to take photos, a group photo at Station A, and then on deck will be Station B. You'll proceed from the outfield to the infield for the performance area at Station C, and then you will proceed to the outfield area outside the third base line for your clinic. So there is a gate on that wall to exit from your clinic, and then you'll just proceed to have to go around back around to get back to your parking spots. So this year we have some great opportunities for you guys. We have our panel of judges that will be judging and scoring based on the adjudication sheets. Their scores will determine if you were given a first division, second division rating. And if you receive a first division rating, you'll get points towards the spring championship, overall championships. And then your point values will determine the ranks. And so we will give a championship award of first place. You're the field band champion, or the drumline champion for tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. And then we will also have the superlative awards. So looking at our list of our judges and clinicians, we've got some great guys coming. The judges listed there are the ones that will be doing the adjudication form and the rankings. And then those clinicians, Rick, Ellis, and Scott, they're really awesome guys. They're going to work with your groups for about 10 minutes. During that clinic, you could be expected to tell your kids, first of all, tell your kids how awesome these guys are, and that they should be very attentive to what they're telling them. They might be asked to perform something else, maybe to repeat something or try this method. Sometimes the clinicians want to demonstrate something. So just be excited about anything that they can impart their wisdom and their expertise towards your students. It is such a fun thing to do. I love watching the clinicians just have a good time with the kids. So those clinics will be right after your performance. And then after the set of, say, the tier 3 drumlines finish, we'll do the tier 3 awards before we move on to the next. And then tier 2 awards will happen before we move on to tier 1. And so be prepared to be back for those awards. Now, I know some of you with the scheduling, we have you going from drumline to field band, or field band to drumline, or something like that. Be sure you check your schedule. A couple of you might have to perform and then go perform again before you get back to an award ceremony. So please double check your schedules with the timing. I did make a few adjustments just within the last hour on the marching band schedule to accommodate schools being able to attend all the award ceremonies that they were in. And so please double check that schedule that is posted on the website. Okay, so I talked about the concessions and the lunch orders already, but just a reminder, I want you to make sure that you have submitted that order by 6 p.m. For the marching band, we have a similar setup. You're going to enter on the northeast gate on the north end zone and proceed to section A as designated on the map. We'll take a team photo there. Then you will be able to proceed down the ramp. Now, Waco ISD has a very steep ramp that gets you down to the football field. There's also a very long, less of an incline ramp that makes a Z. So you're welcome to use either ramp. Just be prepared as your students are going down the big incline and then also back up the incline on the other side to the clinic, that they're supporting their instruments from the low side. So marching bands, you'll start with A, you'll proceed down the ramp to section B, you'll perform where it's designated as C, and then as you exit, that didn't quite show up on the map, but it's on the other end zone, to section D, and there'll be a blocked off part of the parking lot for your clinic after that. So both fields will have an extension cord to power, but if you are expecting your power to be set towards the back side of your performance zone, please be prepared with the additional extension cords that you think you might need. So the clinicians, the same thing for our bands. You can expect that the clinicians are going to talk to you about your performance. Now, these clinicians doing the clinics are not the ones that are judging and filling out adjudication forms. They are really there to give you some insight and possibly some techniques and things on what you can do to improve, or even give your kids some just encouraging feedback. And so these clinicians are not the ones that are ranking you and judging you for your awards. And so you might want to make that clear with your students, because the clinics are very encouraging, but it has nothing to do with the scores that you will be getting from the panel of judges. So our clinicians and judges are pretty awesome for our bands this year as well. You can see those names there. Full bios are on our TAPS Biz band pages, drumline and marching band. So check out those bios and see what kind of cool guys we've got coming out. Once again, same thing with the concessions and the lunch orders. Those are available. Please let your fans know. If your parents want to order lunches, you can include those in your lunch order if they're planning on eating there. But it is just basic concession stand food like nachos, and Bush's Chicken will be there as well for you to pre-order. We are live streaming our event, and so you can go to TAPS TV and share that link with your school so that they can watch the event throughout the day. There will be 2 separate streams for the 2 separate locations for drumline, and then field band and marching band will be on a separate stream. The awards will follow, like I said, per classification, per category. So after all the field bands, we'll have a field band award ceremony, and then after the marching band, we will have a marching band ceremony. During these awards, in the past, we've had the whole band come down. For this year, we would like you to just send your captain or your drum major down to receive the awards, so that we can make sure that our schools are staying physically distanced from each other. And so when they are called to receive the awards, we'll call down just your captains or drum majors. All right, so that's kind of everything in a nutshell. Like I said, please visit the website for more detailed information about what is expected, when, the schedule and the bios and things like that. So let's open it up to questions. Do we have questions submitted?
Okay, Vina, we've got one question. Will Safe Environment sponsors need to register for a ticket?
Everyone that is not a performing on a roster that we've already received, so the roster has your directors and it has your students, so those are considered participants. Anyone that is not a participant and attending for your school will need to register for a ticket.
Basically, if you're not a school employee or a student performing, if it's another student that's helping carry out, so even if it's the parent that's helping you set up and helping you with your equipment, make sure that they go ahead, if you would, and have them purchase that ticket. Anyone else that's there, again, it's a zero cost ticket, so it's just a matter of tracking who's there, and that will help us a little bit. Vina, you mentioned something very important. I know that in our office, Kelly Bay is working hard on the program, etc. If you've sent in your roster and your picture, we thank you greatly. If you've sent in your roster or your picture, we thank you greatly. We need both, so make sure if you send in the roster and no picture, get the picture, and if you send in the picture and no roster, get the roster. And if you haven't sent any of the one, please make sure you get get both of those in as soon as possible. You can send those, and if you need help doing that, get with info, INFO at taps.biz, INFO at taps.biz, or call the TAPS office, 254-947-9268, 254-947-9268. We're here to help. We're looking forward to seeing it. John, Vina, any other questions? It looks like we've got a couple others. So, John, can you see if there's something else we need to deal with?
Sure thing. Next question. For the COVID director's statement, is that something we need to get at the table or something we need to bring with us?
You'll get that at the table, so don't worry about it. We'll have a piece of paper that you'll sign when you get there. So thank you for asking that question. That'll be at the registration area.
I've got one more question in here about meal orders. You should probably just email us at the office and I can get that directed to Vina for you. I don't see any more questions. With that,
one last thing, Vina, help me to remember. I apologize, folks. I have forgotten. They also, everybody, both drumline and band, need to make sure that we have the pieces that are being performed, and they also need the who wrote that. Is that correct, Vina?
Correct. And that is what most of you are missing. We do have your roster. So those of you are thinking, I turned in my roster, I did it in rank 1, it's there. However, we also need your composers and your selections, your drum majors, your captains. So if you haven't specifically yourself typed in, I am performing this by this person, then you are not done. So go back to rank 1 and you will enter that in your performance in the program builder. But like I said, call the office or send an info and we can help you get that in. We really want it, we need to be printing already. And that information is necessary to put on the adjudication sheets, as well as the program that we will have available for everyone to view during the shows.
I think it's really important. We know rank 1's not the easiest thing, but we're here to help you. Kelly and Rhonda here in the office. If you call or email, we'll get back and help you as quickly as possible. We will be doing audio recording as well as broadcast, so it's always good if we can announce the pieces being performed, and the composer sure does seem to help things a little bit better as we go back through. You'll be getting that MP3 of your performance as well emailed to you later. So again, help us out, rosters, pictures, get us the information of the pieces being played. That'll really help us as we move forward. We had one last question, our mask mandatory. You need to follow the mask policy of your school. So if your school says it's mandatory for your students, then yes, it's mandatory for you. Your neighbor may say, no, it's not mandatory, but what we're going to say is you do what your school requires. If you feel like your folks need a mask, please require that. It will not be required of everyone. We're going to follow back and reach back and say it's school authority. So local control on whether you have to have a mask or not. John, I'm looking. I didn't see any further questions. Vina, I didn't have any questions. Vina, any closing thoughts as we get ready to move towards Monday?
No, I believe that everybody is just really excited to perform in beautiful weather and just have some goodness shared with each other. Looking forward to it, guys.
We're looking forward to limited COVID interruption. We're looking forward to no rain, great performances, great clinics. Again, thank you, everybody. We look forward to seeing you at Waco soon. John, I'm going to let you finish up with those closing announcements, and that'll conclude this webinar. Thank you for everybody for being a part of this year.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Vina and Will. All right, folks, you're going to get an email in a couple of hours with a link to our YouTube page that has this recording on it, or that will have this recording on it. If you think of any more questions or need anything else sorted out, please contact us at the office. And with that, we will see you. We'll see you in Waco on Monday. Thank you, folks.